This is Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.
This is Brianna Alyssa, and you're listening to Special Chronicles. Every free chance I have, I tune into Special Chronicles podcasts at specialchronicles.com.
You're listening to the Special Chronicles podcast, episode 133. This episode is brought to you by Pace Suburban Bus. Everyday Pace helps more people with disabilities to take control of their day with a fixed route system that has over 200 routes that are entirely accessible to people with disabilities. You can learn more at pacebus.com. That's pacebus.com.
Every American, every citizen of the world should just be aware of learning disabilities.
I shudder thinking how the world can be so cruel. I lend my voice to those who can't. It's time we try, it's time we care, it's time we stand. It starts with a voice.
You're listening to the Special Chronicles podcast. This is the show where we're podcasting disability stories from an insider's perspective, and we are giving a voice to people with special needs. Coming up on this week's show, which joined by Carrie Mango, a national speaker and autism advocate. We'll also be talking about Down syndrome and adoption, special needs, and lack of eye contact. First original video on The Mighty and Spider-Man and autism, and much more on this week's episode 133. Well, everybody, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome back. My name is Daniel. So good to be back recording behind the mic. And if you want to share in your feedback, you can tweet us at Special C Podcast, or on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Special Chronicles Podcast, or with the hashtag SCP Chat. Well, everybody, welcome, and Kelly, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So, why don't we go ahead and kick the show off and learn a little bit more about your backstory. Play this and then this bump, and then we'll get started.
My advice would be to just try your hardest.
And it takes a lot of training to start the World Games.
I have a learning disability. It's education across the board for everyone. Every American, every citizen of the world should just be aware of learning disabilities.
So today, as I said at the top of the show, we're joined by Carrie Mango. So Carrie, let's have you first begin by introducing yourself to our listeners. I first heard about you by reading some of your blog posts on the mighty.com, and Mike, who our listeners know, was a guest on a previous episode. But let's have you introduce yourself to our listeners.
Yeah, definitely. My name is Carrie Magro, and I am a national speaker. And I actually took this road because when I was 4 years old, I was diagnosed with autism. And growing up, I dealt with a lot of challenges, especially in regards to social and communication delays. But after a lot of therapy and a lot of hard work and dedication to my supports and services, I was able to go after my dreams. And today I work with Autism Speaks as their social media coordinator, and I'm also a national speaker for the National Speakers Association. So I'm just really glad to be given the opportunities I've been given, and we'll just see what the future has in store.
Awesome. So can you share a little bit about your backstory of growing up with your early years of being nonverbal at the age of 2.5 and diagnosed with autism at 4? One of my friends who also was she's been a guest on a previous show, and she's co-hosted a few times. She also was diagnosed with autism, PDD-NOS. Her name's Brianna, who you heard that little intro at the top of the show, and she has a song called "I Was Born Yesterday." So it seems like Costoli might be a little bit similar. I believe she's a junior in high school right now. But share with us on specialchronicles.com/autism. I believe we have links to some of the episodes that she was on. But share with us a little bit about your backstory and your Oreos.
Sure. So when I was 2.5, so growing up, my parents knew that there was something just not quite right, and that was actually because until I was 2.5, I was still nonverbal. And even though I gained speech shortly after 2.5, my parents wanted to know why there was such a delay. So we went to some of the best doctors, best therapists, because I'm from New Jersey, so we went to the best professionals in our tri-state area. And after a 1.5 years of just searching and trying to find someone to give me a diagnosis, I was diagnosed with pervasive developmental disorder, in other words, specified a form of autism. And that's basically my story. I mean, growing up was definitely challenging because of my limited ability of speech. Even though I was able to start talking shortly thereafter, it was still a very tough road, especially compared to my peers.
Yeah.
In terms of speaking, it really was a long road, but thankfully, because of my therapies and really getting involved with a lot of different extracurricular activities like drama and theater groups, that it really helped open my communication to really have the ability to speak more and be able to communicate effectively.
Yeah. So did you say that you have a degree in communications? Or?
Yes, I have a master's degree from Seton Hall University in strategic communications and leadership. And that I got that master's because I actually received a scholarship from the National Speakers Association to become a national speaker. So they gave me the scholarship so I could pursue a degree in toning basically my effective presentation skills.
Neat. I do a lot of speaking with Special Olympics as a global messenger, but then also now at Special Chronicles have my own speaking as well. Let's move on, and wonder if you could share some of your thoughts about the term disability instead of the term disability, meaning DIF ability, so different ability. One of my friends, who you may know, Tim Shriver, who's the chairman of Special Olympics, a few months ago he released a new book called "I'm Fully Alive: Discovering What Matters Most," and he wrote a little bit about that term. And I've written some blog posts and have done some podcasts about this term as well. Tim writes in an endnote on page 180 of his book. He talks about the term disability, and he says it's not a typo, but it's not a generally accepted term either. He uses it to jog his unconsciousness of the mindset of having a lack of ability or a negativity, and recognizing how we have a million abilities, that each of us has many different ones. Can you share some of your thoughts about that term?
Yeah, sure. I've always considered people with disabilities as some of the most brilliant minds that we have out there today. And that goes to show in many aspects that even though you may have a disability, you also have a lot of abilities.
Yes.
You have your own specific strengths that you could work up to. And having a disability doesn't make you any less of a person. That's what I constantly am preaching in my presentations, that regardless of whatever you have going on in your life, it's really more of a difference than anything. And it makes you who you are, it makes you unique, and it makes you completely different than the next person you're going to meet. So that uniqueness is kind of what I see most in our disability community. And not only with disabilities, but autism.
Absolutely.
The saying in the autism community is if you've met one person with autism, you've met just that one person with autism.
Yeah.
Because everyone has their own unique and varied story compared to the next individual you'll meet.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my take on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard that too. Now in preparing for the show today, I saw on your website that you have a quote on there that says, "Autism can't define me, I define autism." Can you share with us how you came up with that quote and some of your thoughts for having that quote on your website?
Yeah, sure. So that phrase became something that became very important to me when I was in college. Because when I went to college for the first time, no one really knew I had autism. Everyone kind of just saw me and were like, "Oh, you couldn't have autism." But during one of my first presentations in college, I told my peers for the first time, I was giving the autism awareness presentation, and I told them that autism can't define me. I define autism in everything I do in my life. And that was really trying to teach people that even though I was nonverbal at 2.5, even though I dealt with constant challenges growing up, I still was able to overcome a lot of my obstacles. And that's what I've been seeing a lot in our community. There's so many individuals who are doing therapy. There's so many individuals who do have supports and services who are achieving great things every single day. Mm-hmm. So my main thought with that phrase is that, don't be defined by your label. Define yourself and define the person you want to be in your life, and don't let anything stand in your way.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things, I was diagnosed with learning disabilities and a severe language disorder, and one of the things that I learned in college, and when I wrote some articles in the paper about different disability issues, some people have even said that they didn't see how I had a disability. And one of the things I learned was the difference between invisible versus visible disabilities. So invisible might be autism or LD, and then visible might be Down syndrome or CP. We have about less than a minute before we have to take a first break, but share briefly about some of the obstacles and challenges that you said that you have to deal with in the past, and that you may still deal with on a daily basis.
Sure. So just real quick, I deal with today. When I was growing up, I dealt with not only social and communication delays. I had a stutter. I had sensory integration issues, which is basically you feel a sense of overload for your senses. And today, I've been able to grow out of a lot of the sensory integration stuff, and now it's more focused on just having a few difficulties interacting with my peers and individuals my own age. But again, it's far less than what I had to deal with growing up.
Okay, awesome. And one of the things that we try to do at Special Chronicles is focus on our abilities. We have to take a short break just to mention our sponsors, but coming up, we'll hear more from you, Carrie, about your nonprofit and making a difference, and about your speaking career and some of the books you've written and film projects that you have worked on. Plus, we'll talk about some more news stories and the Support the World in the World campaign. Is all coming up right after the break right here on SpecialChronicles.com. We'll be right back. This episode brought to you by Pace Suburban Bus. Pace helps get you where you need to go. Every day, Pace helps more and more people with disabilities take control of their day. On Pace's fixed routes, you won't have to book your rides a day in advance. And with a fixed route system that has over 200 routes that are entirely accessible to people with disabilities, you'll be able to go where you want, when you want. And best of all, many people with disabilities ride Pace for free or for half price. When you're ready to take control of your day and learn more, visit pacebus.com. That's pacebus.com, or call 847-364-PACE. That's 847-364-PACE. Pace, connecting communities. This episode is also sponsored by Chicago Army Navy Surplus Store in Downers Grove, Illinois. When was the last time you were in an Army Surplus Store looking for a cool backpack or shoulder bag, camouflage pants or jackets? Do you like collecting or just looking at military stuff from around the world? If so, then go to Facebook and visit Chicago Army Navy Surplus, located in Downers Grove, Illinois. Or go to their website, chiarmy.com. That's chiarmy.com. A cool store, great stuff, and friendly people. This episode is also sponsored by Flocknote. Does your parish ministry or organization struggle to keep everyone in the loop? Do you want a simple solution, something that just works? Well, Flocknote.com was made for you. Quiz mini list as you like. Then import the contacts that you already have, or simply let your members subscribe to your activities themselves via the web, or by letting them send a text message right from their phone. It's never been easier to click up-to-date contact info and then to send your groups an email or text message at the click of a button. Try a free trial today at Flocknote.com.
And this episode also sponsored by Bluehost. Want to start your own blog or professional website? Then consider using Bluehost. For only $6.95 per month or less, you can have your own professional website or blog. Click on specialchronicles.com/sponsors and click on the Bluehost banner for more information.
Tim Shriver Jr., and I'm the co-founder of Spread the Word to End the Word. I'm just excited to be on this pioneering show, this pioneering project, Special Chronicles. Absolutely, Chicago is once again becoming the location of a new revolution, in voice and in representation, and it's been a special place for a long time. I mean, it's been 40 some years since Special Olympics launched there in Chicago at Soldier Field, and almost 50 years later, another huge project, Special Chronicles, launching in that same town. It holds a lot of special power there in Chicago. I also just want to thank you, Dan, for inviting me on and for creating Special Chronicles. It's such an incredible innovation, and it's an incredible project you've taken on that you have worked so hard on for 5 years, taken from a small podcast to a new media company and a nonprofit. The work you put in shows so strongly, and the fact that you create this show not just to give voice for yourself, but to give voice to so many Special Olympics athletes and so many people across our community. Such a powerful idea, such a powerful action, such a powerful creation. So thank you for all the work you do. And I just can't wait to see the next episode and see what comes next. Thank you, and I hope you guys all have a great day.
Hi, this is Mike Borath, founder of themighty.com. I'm here in Los Angeles, and you're listening to Special Chronicles.
You're listening to the Special Chronicles podcast, and here's your host.
This is the Special Chronicles podcast. My name is Daniel. your host, and you can follow me on the Twitter or the Facebook, PodmanDan, and we'll still joined here by Kelly Mango, a national speaker and autism advocate. Welcome back to the show, Kelly.
Glad to be back on.
So let's continue learning a little bit more about your story and get into some of the advocacy work that you're doing in the disability and autism community. Can you share a little bit about your nonprofit KFM Making a Difference and how you got started with this?
Sure. I started KFM Making a Difference actually while I was in college.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea came to me because when I was in school, there was no organizations on campus for those with disabilities. So I took it upon myself to talk to our student government. And after a few months of paperwork, I finally got to start an organization called Student Disability Awareness. And being able to start a disability awareness organization on my college campus gave me the idea to start a nonprofit organization for those with autism outside of my college campus.
Yeah.
It was something I wanted to do to really just get the word out about adults with autism, but also give them the possibilities to go to college. So in 2009, KFM Making a Difference started. In 2011, we were able to get our 501c3 nonprofit status. And ever since then, we have been giving out scholarships for individuals with autism to go to college. And currently, we have given out 13 scholarships. And we give one scholarship out in the fall and another scholarship out in the spring. Yeah. And you can learn all about this scholarship program on my personal website at carriemagro.com.
Okay, neat. And I'll make sure to put a link to your website in our show notes for episode 133 on specialchronicles.com for all listeners. What does KFM, does it stand for something, or how did you come up with the name?
Right. So in college, more than anything, what I wanted to do was make a difference in the lives of those with disabilities. And that was actually the reason for the name of my organization. KFM is just my initials, okay. Carrie Francis, which is my middle name, and then Magro. So I just made it my initials and called it KFM Making a Difference because I hope through what I'm doing, people can take notice and just see that I'm trying to make a difference for those with disabilities.
Neat. Well, I'll share the information about your nonprofit and this show with my friend Bree, who I believe is going to be a senior next year. I don't know if she has plans to go to college, but I'll definitely share and tell her about your scholarship program. So let's move on and talk a little bit about your speaking. You said in our first segment that you're part of the National Speakers Association. Can you share with us how you got started speaking and some of the topics and where you have spoken?
Yeah, so again, I mean, the past 4 years of being a motivational speaker have been phenomenal. And over that time, I've spoken at over 400 events in the United States and also Canada. And so, some of the biggest ones that I've had the opportunity to speak at, I got to speak at the Intrepid for National Disability Awareness Month, or Employment Month, in October of, I believe it was 2012. And then at the end of last year, I got to speak at JP Morgan Chase, again for autism awareness. And those two are probably the biggest ones I've done so far. And the the great thing about just being a speaker and getting to share my life story is that I've been able to really speak at a lot of different types of events also. Spoken at businesses, so spoken at schools, paraprofessional meetings, school assemblies, parent groups, just a wider range of events. And each one I hold applicable to just what they need. And more than anything, that I see myself as a speaker, but also as an outlet for these individuals to really gauge where we're going in our disability community going forward, and just trying to help out with the cause.
Neat. Awesome. I saw that you've written a couple books, one called Defining Autism from the Heart and another called Autism and Falling in Love. Can you share with us about why you have written these books and some of your thoughts about kind of giving our listeners a preview to hopefully check out your own books?
Sure. So I started defining autism from the heart when I first told my peers in college that I was on the autism spectrum. It was during a time where I really didn't know how any of them were going to react. I didn't know if they were going to react with fear. I didn't know if they were going to react and bully me because of my autism, but all of them were very, very accepting. But also during that time, I really was just trying to figure out who I was as an individual with autism. So I wrote a book, and it is compiled of essays and poems that I wrote when I was trying to figure out who I was as an adult with autism. And after a while, I decided to put those poems and essays together and form my first book, called Defining Autism from the Heart, kind of going off the same line as my quote, autism can't define me, I define autism. So that was my first book. And my second book, Autism and Falling in Love, was again another book I started writing when I was in college. And I wrote this book because when I was in college, I was really getting into my first relationship. And I really didn't have any idea what I was doing. And it was during that time I kind of just took it upon myself to really just try to research. And when I researched, I really couldn't find that many books about autism and relationships. So when I had my first relationship, that's when I started writing the journal about my experiences with relationships. And 7 years later, now, as a 26-year-old adult, I decided to come out with my second book based on a recent breakup that I had, and just wanting to be there for other individuals with autism who might be going through similar things. So both those books came out, and they are currently available on Amazon, and I hope you guys check them out.
Awesome. So I saw that you're also involved as a consultant on some films. Can you share with us about some of the films that you have consulted and what you have done through this process of consulting on different film projects?
Sure. My first movie that I consulted for was in 2010, and it was a movie called Joyful Noise, which starred Queen Latifah and Dolly Parton. And the reason I actually got the opportunity to consult for that movie was because one of the characters in the film had Asperger's syndrome. It was a 14-year-old character, and I was currently working with Autism Speaks at the time as an intern. And my organization suggested that the director of the movie, Todd Graff, reach out to me because they knew I had a background in film and theater, and they wanted to get as realistic portrayal of autism as humanly possible through the film.
Yeah.
So I started talking to the director. The director sent me his screenplay. He asked me if I could edit it, and especially the part about the individual with autism, and 3 days later, I had the edit done, and I was ready to send it back to him, and then a week later, we were having lunch in New York. It was kind of surreal with a famous movie director having lunch in New York and talking about the film. And that's when he told me that he wanted me to start working on the film as a consultant and really just trying to make people through the film understand more about autism. So the movie was produced for a year and a half, and it finally came out in January of 2012. And after that, it just opens a wide range of opportunities for me to start consulting for more films featuring individuals with autism. So currently today, I'm working on four more autism films. One of them is my own documentary, which I'm starting based on my life on the spectrum, which I hope to have out sometime next year. And then 3 other films. Jane Wants a Boyfriend, which focuses on a girl with Asperger's syndrome trying to find love for the first time in New York City. Another one called Big Daddy Autism, which is a documentary which looks at a relationship of a single father with a young child who is nonverbal on the spectrum. And then finally, the last movie, Don't Boil My Plans, is another documentary which looks at a 25-year-old cartoonist also on the autism spectrum who is looking for employment for the first time, and just kind of some of the obstacles and successes he's gone along the way to doing that. So again, I'm blessed with the opportunity to get to consult for all these films, and you can find all these films on my website at carriemagro.com if you want to learn more.
Right. Do you recommend these